Want to know the 13 best date conversation topics that lead to sex? Well, stay tuned. Did you know in 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 had zero sex? Isn't that crazy? That was before COVID hit. That means that rate probably increased exponentially when COVID hit. That's insane. So, what is driving this sexless decade of humans? The main culprits seem to be the prevalence of digital entertainment. So, those Netflix subscriptions, those Hulu subscriptions, you name it, are causing problems for getting us out of the house so that we can meet people and actually interact with real humans. Another issue that may be causing this problem is rising inequality. A lot more people are staying at home, living with their parents or living with a bunch of different roommates, and they don't have a private place to their own. So that could be part of it. General social ineptitude could be a problem as well. A lot more of the jobs are remote. A lot of people are just working behind computers. They're not interacting. They're not practicing that social muscle. And so they're kind of getting out of practice and they don't know what to do to really find that partner. Could also be the prevalence of porn. Sometimes porn gives us what we think we want, what we think we need, although it's not real. And so that can cause a lot of problems as well. So what if we, instead of focusing on all of those things, focused on our conversation skills? 10 years of coaching men and really getting them from sometimes not having had a date in years and years and years to having more dates than they know what to do with. Well, part of the reason why my students are effective at what they do and get those dates and really have the experiences that they're looking to have is because they practice the art of conversation. It is not dead. It is so important to really get good at conversation. And so let's talk about different conversation topics that you can use on your dates to help escalate the sexual tension so that you are actually having sex. So in order to have sex, you have to put yourself out there. You have to take some chances. And if you're the guy in the relationships, which you probably are, you're the one who's going to have to really drive that conversation forward. Usually, a woman is not going to initiate sex or sexual conversation. So what is going to differentiate you from a friend zone guy to a romantic interest type of guy is your willingness and ability to push those sexier, edgier topics to the forefront. So what are these topics? Well, let's talk about it. You want to get edgy. Sex is one of the most intimate things that we can engage in as humans. And so in order to get to the sex part, you need to be able to talk about vulnerable topics in conversation. So you want to steer the conversation to edgier, somewhat taboo topics. So think about things like talking about tattoos, piercings, threesomes, solo traveling, kissing, skinny dipping, activities that lead to sex, taking your clothes off, nudity. All of these subjects are not conversation topics that you're going to talk to with your friend or with your family member. You really want to differentiate the relationship and differentiate the conversation you're having with romantic interests. So you really want to make sure that you artfully steer the conversation towards sex. You don't want to come out and be blunt and say something like, so what's your favorite sexual position? That is a surefire way to get canceled. Okay, we don't want you canceled. But the best way to segue into a delicate topic is by using humor. So maybe you tell a sexy story that has a little bit of humor in it about a friend or even about yourself. In this way, you're leading the conversation in a harmless way by not talking about you and her having sex, but rather your own personal experience or even a friend's personal experience about sex that makes it safe and a safe way for her to imagine what sex with you might be like. Ask sex adjacent questions. So sex doesn't happen in a vacuum. There is a before sex, a during sex, and an after sex. If you can start getting her to talk about the activities leading up to her own past sexual experiences, you can introduce the topic of sex a little bit more seamlessly. So you might ask questions like, do you have any tattoos or piercings? How old were you when you had your first drink? What is the most trouble you ever got into in high school? What's the craziest place you've ever traveled? Have you traveled solo? Ever gone skinny dipping? Talk sexy. To do so, you want to introduce sexy topics that gradually get sexier over time. And what you want to do is check for her buy-in so that you know it's time to escalate sexual tension more. One way to do this is by asking her strategic questions. It looks something like this. You ask her a flirty or sexy question. Maybe she deflects and tells you to go first or says she can't think of anything. So then you tell her a flirty and sexy story, which then gives her permission to do the same by ensuring that you've created a safe space for intimate conversations. I teach an entire training on this topic in my coaching program, Dating Decoded, where I actually give my students an exact formula to follow so they ensure that they're escalating sexual tension appropriately without being too forward or too passive. For more information about that program, check out my free masterclass in the description below this video. Don't apologize for swearing or using explicit language in your sexy storytelling. If you find yourself apologizing for using the actual words of body parts when you're telling your sexy story, that's going to send a signal to her that you're uncomfortable with your sexuality, and therefore it is not a safe place for her to open up to you because you're judging yourself. So when you're telling these sexy stories, make sure to use the actual names of the body parts to do so. That may create a little tension in you, but that tension is what you want. If there's no tension, you're in the friend zone. So it's okay to feel tension. It is super okay to use the actual words for the body parts in your sexy stories. And it gives her permission to then know that it's a safe space and that she can share back vulnerably with you as well. When you're asking her questions to get her in her senses, you want to appeal more to her animalistic side. So ask her about things like food, music, sports, dancing, things that make her feel, not think. You want to ask her questions that get her into her senses. You don't want her in her head, you want her in her body. So questions like, do you like baths? That can actually get her to start thinking about her body and thinking about her naked body, which can be a taboo subject, and that's what we kind of want. The best way to get women talking sexy is to get them talking about their passions, their hobbies, and their interests, things that light them up emotionally, things that get them like in their body, in their senses. So you want to get them talking about whatever they love and really get that conversation to revolve around sensual activity. You might ask her a question like, are you into yoga? Now she's going to be thinking about her body and moving her body. Ask her a question like, how comfortable are you communicating your wants and needs to your partner? Doing this helps to introduce the importance of communication when it comes to sexuality, and it opens the doorway to having that conversation. Another question you can ask is, when your partner tells you about his or her sexual preferences, what does it do to you? This is a great way to segue into what her sexual preferences are without first focusing all on her. A great way to segue conversation into more sexual topics is to ask, is there anything you've thought about trying but never have? Now you're getting into exploring her kinks, her sexual wish list, and never have I evers. I hope this video was helpful, guys, for learning how to escalate sexual tension by introducing it into conversation. I talk a lot more in detail about this in my coaching program, Dating Decoded, which you can learn more about in my free masterclass, which is linked below this video. Would love to chat with you more if this is something that you're really serious about and you're looking for a coach that can help you step by step find the woman of your dreams by mega dating and meeting a bunch of different people, having a bunch of different dating experiences, and really learning what you like and what you don't like. So check out my free masterclass below this video for more information on that. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment in the comments below, and follow us on social media. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.